Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, to my girls. My hair's all crazy. Today I'm talking about something that is super, super close to my heart. It's something that I have experienced. It's something that I feel that it was my calling to share my story. It was my calling to share what I went through, how I dealt with it, how I overcame it. So I wanted to make sure that this was like the first official video that I posted. So like I said, to my girls, is to anyone who needs that talk, needs that connection, needs that, discussion. If you're interested in a discussion or you've been through something that was an experience like yours, or if you haven't, you know someone, it's always there if you need it as a reference. I wanted to give you another quote that I found that helped me accept what I've been through and to look at it as in a different like perspective. It says, "One small crack does not mean you were broken. It means that you were put to the test and didn't fall apart." Linda Poindexter. And I feel like that quote is very good for what we're going to talk about today. So, postpartum depression. Postpartum depression, I feel like a lot of people hear about. It's something that, like, in nursing school, we talk about certain symptoms to look at or to diagnose, treatment, and then that's it. Depending on where you work, you talk about it further or further about it, just depending on where you work. So I'll just give you some information about what I found, just like a quick little search. Postpartum depression. Okay, so postpartum depression is a mood disorder or depression that occurs in mothers after the birth of the baby. Usually this will be a short-term disorder. Very common, doesn't require lab tests or imaging, treatable by a medical professional, can last several weeks to months. It could be due to changing in hormone levels, genetics, or stress. It's more common after the birth of the first child. The mothers of these newborns can encounter the feeling of depression and anxiety during the first 3 weeks of childbirth. It's treatable with counseling and medication. And then it talks about some of the symptoms that, if you would just do a basic search of it, most commonly seen in the first few weeks after birth. It can be any time within that first year. It's emotional, behavioral, cognitive change, feeling of sad and anxiety, sleeping a lot or too less, eating too less or too much, unexplained aches, pains, or illness, sudden mood changes, poor circulation, concentration, not circulation, unexplained aches I already talked about, anxiety, irritation, or anger for no reason, sudden mood changes, poor concentration. I just went over everything again, but it's okay. Difficulty in remembering things, feeling of worthlessness, guilt, or hopelessness, recurrent thoughts of death and suicide, lack of pleasure in things that were earlier enjoyable, and then feeling disconnected with the baby. This is all going to be real, so I'm not going to edit that. And then treatments can be counseling and medications. They give you antidepressants, self-care, talk to your loved ones, try to follow a healthy routine, engage in things that make it enjoyable, therapies. That is just like a basic search that literally I wanted to pull up just to give you if you were feeling some sort of feelings or someone mentioned it to you and you look it up, that's what you would see. So there's that. Or you would talk to some people. Some people are like, I feel like there's a lot of us who are like, oh, less sleep, I have a new baby. Not eating, I have a new baby. When you're breastfeeding or pumping, literally your whole day just flies by and you forget to eat, to drink. You're like dizzy and they're like, wait a minute, it's 3 o'clock and I didn't even eat myself, but I fed the baby. So we get a lot of those symptoms. A lot of people say those symptoms. A lot of our mothers, who I am now in my 30s. So my mom told me, oh yeah, I experienced that. Oh yeah, we dealt with that. My nanny, my mom's mom, said the same thing. There are some other people that would literally say the same thing. Okay. here's the thing. Each one of us are different. Mothers, the babies, each one of us are different little souls, different souls. We have our different symptoms, needs, expressions, etc. Here is what I dealt with. So, with my first pregnancy, everything was fine. Perfect. Second pregnancy, I was working out just how I did the first. I felt good, did not know what I was having, so it didn't matter what boy or girl. I was working night shift like I did with my first pregnancy. I was 4 years older, I think, and we were married, living in a house compared to my first one. My first one, we were not married, and we were living in my parents' house, moving into another house like within that year, so it was craziness. And that's just like the situational part. So after my second trimester, it was the very end of my second trimester, I was eating good, working out still. I think I was in school. I was in school for my master's in nursing leadership and education. And just started feeling like down, started feeling just blah. It was end of summer. That pregnancy was the due date was in December. And I do get seasonal depression. So I was like, maybe this is it. Maybe I'm just a little stressed. I have an older child. I'm working. I'm going to school. There's just a lot going on. Didn't really think anything of it. But throughout the times, and I'm like, I'm pregnant. I didn't even have the baby yet. It's the end of my second trimester. So as kind of time went by, I felt not right. Didn't feel good. Tried making the best of it. I had since the very first pregnancy, I kept saying, feel positive, think positive, be positive, because the baby will sense that energy. I want my energy to be positive energy. So I literally kept, I'm okay. And then I had my appointment for my doctors, and for some reason I felt I need to say something. I don't feel good. Something's not right. So I went to the doctor. They did the whole, your blood pressure, go pee in a cup. How are you feeling? What's going on? Let's look for a heart rate. You don't know what you're having. Cool. Anything else? And I said, I just don't feel right. I know it's I don't know if there's some sort of, in the middle of pregnancy, you can kind of feel awkward. I said, I just don't feel right. I feel off. I feel like something's just, I don't feel right. I don't feel like myself. And he said, are you doing everything? Are you eating what you're supposed to? Are you still working out? Are you still doing everything that you wanted to? And I said, yes. And then he said, do you have any thoughts of harming yourself? And I was like, no, I don't. And he said, okay, well, if you don't have any thoughts of harming yourself, or you don't have a wish, we'll just watch this. You're fine. I was like, okay. So then from then to after I had the baby, I just kind of pushed through. It's all good, talked myself out of stuff, whatever. I ended up having, it was a girl, I ended up having my daughter January 3rd, so she went 5 days, I think, after her due date. Labor was quick, easy, everything was fine, and everything was good. I breastfed her, started breastfeeding her, we went out of the hospital, we were back home, everything was fine. I breastfed and pumped. I was going back to work after those, whatever months. Everything felt good. And then I remember for my week, that couple week after, I think it's 4 to 6 weeks after checkup, is whenever I didn't feel good again. Still kind of didn't feel good since I had her, but persevered. And then with feeding, I mean, there wasn't a lot of she actually slept. She was a really good baby. She slept every 4 hours as soon as she literally popped out of me. Slept every 4 hours, ate a lot. She would like eat a ton and vomit and then have to get fed again. I just had too much milk and I was like feeding her too much. So I was pumping one boob, feeding her, pumping one boob, feeding her. I did not feel good. I felt awful. I would hold her and just, it's okay. You make me feel better. I'm so blessed. I would like say things to myself. I am so blessed that you're healthy, that everything went well, that, you know, I'm breastfeeding, I'm going back to work, like everything's fine. You know, my parents watched my kids, or the one was in school and the other one was with my parents. So like I was fine with leaving her because with my parents, I worked night shifts, so I literally was with them all day. Had lack of sleep because I didn't give myself enough sleep during the day, but nevertheless, it still didn't feel good. Still felt like not good. So for my visit, I went to the doctors and told them, I don't feel good. I don't feel right. There are days that I literally feel sad and mad, and you know, I hold my baby and I'm so thankful for her, and I want to do everything I can to like have my house clean and take care of food and do everything I need to do. And if my 4 or 5-year-old was playing and she was messing things up, I would like instantly yell at her because I just cleaned up, not thinking in my head like she's 4 or 5 and she's playing. I wasn't thinking straight. My dog was being a puppy, would be running around, be crazy, and I'd just yell at her. I was just yelling constantly. I was just very like angry, upset. I kept catching myself yelling and screaming, being like mean and angry for no reason. But still held the baby, connected. She made me, I kept saying like, you make me feel better. You make me feel like I'm like doing it right. I'm a good mom. But I would say that and not feel that. It was like something, it was almost like you're thinking of a puzzle and it's like slowly getting pulled apart, and you're not really sure why, because you're really trying hard to put it all together. Because nothing, I mean, I'm happy, we're working together, I'm doing it, and it still feels like this. So whenever I went and told my doctor, like, I don't feel good still, I don't feel right, I didn't feel like good or right since like the last trimester, I don't feel good, something's wrong. And you know, they asked the questions, the symptoms that I explained to you, you know, a lot of those questions, and I said I feel fine. I feel fine with like my baby. I feel fine with, I just like get mad sometimes, I'm stressed sometimes, just really pissy. And then they asked about, oh, do you have a plan? Do you want to hurt yourself? I said, well, I don't feel like I want to do it, but I do think it on and off. Yes, I do think it. And then they were like, okay, well, let's talk about medications we can get for you. If you wanted to do therapy, we can hook you with a therapist. Here's a paper. Got on medication. Started working through certain things that I needed. The medication did help a lot. As time passed, I did feel better. As the months got better, because I did have her in January, I did feel better. It was very, very, it almost felt like you were in a tunnel and you're standing right at the end and you're looking out and you see people and you're interacting, but you're still in that tunnel. That's how postpartum depression felt to me. I was sad, angry. Certain things would make me angry. Nothing with my children would make me want to be enraged or hate them. I was just always angry. And I feel like with my husband, I was always doubting, thinking things. I feel like my postpartum depression affected his relationship with me versus my relationship with my baby. and I felt angry towards everybody, and I just like, I was always on the edge, and I was just upset, and it always felt like I was overthinking on top of overthinking. And kept it to myself because, again, I was in this cave that I was seeing everybody from afar. I knew kind of what was going on, but I was just in a cave. I was literally in a cave looking out. Darkness behind me, feeling darkness, but just there and present. And not knowing or understanding the answer of why you're sad or angry or what's wrong, and you're just like, I don't really know, is definitely one of the hardest things to ever go through. I think with therapy and with medication, I think that helped me the most. For sure. And it took years to, understand. I mean, I was a nurse, and I knew something was wrong, and I didn't it wasn't very easy for me to go to the doctors and say stuff. It wasn't very easy. It's very, very hard, and we're all busy, and we all have stuff going on, and if you have more than one child, or even not even one child, and you're prepping for everything or you're working, it's very hard. Very hard. It's not your fault if you ask for help. It's not your fault if you don't ask for help. Sometimes people need to step in. Sometimes, your PCP should be that person, or your OB should be that person to give you, if you're saying no, okay, that's fine, but here's papers. Because sometimes you need to, when you're in that bad moment or that low moment, that's whenever you're like, I need to stop this. I deserve to be happy. I deserve this happiness. My child deserves this happiness. My husband deserves this happiness. Everyone deserves this happiness. Sometimes we need more, though. And then sometimes we need someone like me to tell you, you don't need to be sad and not wanting to be near your baby in order to feel like you have postpartum depression. Sometimes it can be something else. There were times where I would literally be driving down the street, just driving, had a really good day with my daughter, without my daughter, driving somewhere, having a really good day, and looking on the side of the road and seeing dead animals and being like, I wish I could be there right now because I don't want to be here. It's crazy, the feelings, it's crazy, the thoughts, it's crazy and scary, and no one wants to feel like that. Everyone wants to be in control. Everyone wants to have answers, and sometimes there's not. Sometimes you just have to work through what you're given with what you have. One step at a time, one day at a time, one moment at a time, and just make sure that you have support and you have someone to talk to or ask questions for. Make sure you get help. I had 2 really good therapists in my life, and the second therapist was after my third child, actually. And my third child, by the way, I had no postpartum depression. I did take the placenta pills because my postpartum depression, I felt, was really bad, and I wanted to do any and everything to try to not have it. And I did take the placenta pills, and I did not have postpartum depression in my third pregnancy. But it took a lot of time, a lot of healing, a lot of me thinking and feeling and being more in tune with what I'm doing and what's going on, and day by day focus on trying to just be positive. And obviously I think the medications really did help. I think therapy really did help. There's a lot of guilt that comes with it. There's a lot of guilt. There's a lot of guilt on yourself. There's a lot of guilt on what you're doing wrong, right? You just always feel like you're doing something wrong. There's just that anger. There's that. It's pretty intense. But that was my experience. And then after my third child, it was literally, I think, like the week or two after I had him, I went somewhere for my friend's bachelorette party and was talking to a bunch of people about my postpartum. And a lot of them said they think that they had something, they were down, they didn't know why, there's nothing to describe it. Before that, I was talking on and off about it to certain people. If I was in a party, I talked about it everywhere. My husband would be like, oh my gosh, why are you talking to everybody about it? Because people don't normalize it, and we need to. There was a mom who literally parked on a bridge and jumped out of her car because she didn't get the help she needed. I don't want that happening to anybody else. It should not be happening. Our society and mental health and our medical, this still should not be happening. But we also need to realize that these moms, these females need, and dads sometimes too, need people in their families to realize this isn't something that's like not a norm. It's very real. It can happen to anybody. And it's serious. Questions or concerns or just, anything in general, anyone can email to my girls, 143@gmail.com if you have any questions or insights. I'll post up a lot of information that I have for anyone. I live in PA, so anything in PA, or there's a postpartum resource. You can type into like Google or whatever, PPRC, PSI for Postpartum Support International. A lot of them can focus on like certain states you're in. Department of Health, always very, very helpful for certain things. National Suicide Prevention, and just talk and communicate. Sorry, that's my dog. Talk and communicate about it. It's real. I talk and communicate about it all the time. It doesn't have to do with, just partaking with your child or your baby. It could be anything. And thanks for listening.